Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Extra Point. I'm here with Zach and Callie, my buddies.
Yeah.
I heard you guys were live the other day talking about that big coffee count or big Tullahoma win.
Yeah.
We have to break down the coffee pot a little bit.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, Coffee County blew a pretty good lead.
Yeah, they did. They were up 28-7 at halftime and ended up only scoring 2 more touchdowns after that. After Tullahoma's offense rallied, put up 35 second half points. It was a coffee pot for the ages.
Yeah. Well, I think you wanted to add if anybody had any comments or questions they wanted to type
Yeah,
in.
as we do this live video, I just wanted to make mention. I see we did have 2 viewers. Now apparently they're gone. But just wanted to say, if anybody has any questions, comments, feel free to jump in. We always kind of watch that and monitor this during.
That's why if you see us looking up,
Yeah, we're actually looking at the screen to see if there's any comments going on or the viewers, such like this. So feel free to jump into the conversation at any point, and we'll read it on air.
And please be positive, okay? 'Cause we
won't read
know
the
Callie
negative
has
ones
made some
anyways.
enemies over the years.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we're going to move on from the Coffee County Tullahoma game, which was a big win for Tullahoma. Moore County also won. I think we had predicted that over Community, pretty good. And Callie picked Franklin County to beat Laverne. You and I did
She
not.
was the only one that was right, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question: is Franklin County better than what we expected?
So far so good. I mean, they play a tough opponent in Page this weekend, so I think that's really we're gonna see where maybe the rubber meets the road with these guys. They did come back. They trailed 6-0 all the way into the second half, and then they came back and they held Laverne's offense to remain scoreless throughout to not score anymore throughout the game, and managed to score 16 points. Defense looked really good. Offense is still getting its legs, but we'll see. You know, Page is one of those teams you really got to look out for. So.
Well, I guess we'll see other teams in action this past week. Fayetteville won. I'd kind of messed the games up last week. I had somebody playing someone, and I was incorrect. But anyway, Fayetteville won. Grundy County won. And Marshall County beat Shelbyville, which I think we might have expected that. Speaking of Marshall County, they are at Tullahoma. I mean, is Tullahoma a completely different team? And I know they are, but can they beat Marshall County?
No, what you just mentioned right there. Tullahoma is a completely different team. Tullahoma is going to struggle against Marshall County, and Marshall County, and this is no knock on Tullahoma. Tullahoma is obviously improved, but Marshall County is probably one of the best teams in the state, and probably one of the best teams in Tullahoma's classification. So this is going to be an extremely tough matchup for Tullahoma. I could break down this game further. I'll just say this: compared to some of the other teams that Tullahoma's played, besides Shelbyville and Coffee County, Marshall County has a balanced offense, and that's going to create a lot of headaches for Tullahoma. Tullahoma with Coffee County, Shelbyville could look at their offense and point to one specific region or one specific category that they needed to cover. They're not going to be able to do that with Marshall County. Marshall County can beat them with the rush and pass game, so it's going to be a tough matchup for Tullahoma.
You mentioned Franklin County's having to go to Page, right?
Yes,
Going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they beat Nolensville last week, which Nolensville is lost their first 2. So, you know, maybe that's not a good indicator of things to come as far as who Page has played. But
This would be a game that could get them over the hump for the season.
Yeah, if they win this game on Friday and being on the road, I'm saying I may be drinking the Kool-Aid after that. So because wowie if they do. So Page scored 45 points against Nolensville. We've managed. I don't think we've got over the
week
hump.
before though, Fayetteville had beaten Nolensville, which is what, like a 2A.
Yeah,
Nolensville still.
exactly.
We should point out that Nolensville is still a fairly new
Yeah,
school.
so like I said,
first year varsity football team.
Not a great indicator. So we'll see.
Coffee County is at Black.
They're about to go 0-3 on the season.
Yeah, unfortunately, I probably feel the same way. Let's go back to Friday night. What really happened to Coffee County? I mean, was it
Penalties?
conservative?
Penalties and turnovers. Not to call out Coffee County coaching because I know they do watch this at some point. Why didn't Alante get the carries that he did in the second half? That's what I really want to know. When you look at the stats, the first half he had 14 carries for 163 yards in the first half and had broke loose for 3 touchdowns. Second half, he only touches the ball 4 times running the ball. How do you not give that kid the ball
I thought
10
we
more
had
times?
mentioned that they needed to get the ball in their playmakers' hand.
They did. They did, and they almost resorted to the passing game. I believe that Prater had about 10 pass attempts in the second half, which is just mind-boggling to me that they would do that. Unless there was some injury that was happening. That's my question is where was Alante? And then you put in the ball in his hands on the final drive, and then obviously that turns out the way it did. So, but really before even Alante and all that stuff, the turnovers and the penalties, that's what killed Coffee County. They did that the week beforehand against Franklin County, where they showed that they were undisciplined.
Yeah.
And they just gotta stop with the mental lapse. If they can do that, then they'll be a pretty good team.
All right. Well, Moore County actually went and won their first 2 games on the road, and this week, Cornersville is coming to Moore County. I actually see Moore County maybe winning.
Yeah, I mean,
what's really great is this area right now is all 2-0. Most of our teams here in our viewing area are all undefeated so far in the season, which is not something we've seen in a long time.
In the last couple of years.
Exactly.
We'd be lucky to have 6 wins out of all of our season, the whole season.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting so far.
And unfortunately for Coffee County, to go back to them, they're hitting the heart of their schedule now. They had to win these first couple of games to even. I mean, they could go 0-.
Could be, but then they also play after Blackman. They'll have a bye week, and then after that, then they'll head. I can't remember if it's a road game or if it's they'll play Warren County. That's probably going to be the best chance that Coffee has at winning a game this season.
Well, let's wish them luck. Other teams in action: Huntland at Fayetteville. That's going to be a tough game for Huntland. Fayetteville's a pretty good school, and they're still fairly young. Lincoln County will be at Columbia. York Institute will be at Grundy. And the big game that I noticed it was out there, it's not really our area, but real close to, Siegel is at Riverdale. So that ought to be a good Friday night matchup for football, don't you think?
Yeah, if you're looking for, I guess.
The weather holds.
Yeah, the weather holds up. Yeah, all this is tentative at this point.
Yeah, I guess that is true, but for the most part, they should play in the rain.
Well, yeah,
You just have to worry about some of these storms coming in.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we're not done talking about football yet, but we're going to move away from high school ball. It is college. Well, they kicked off a few games last week in college football, what we call our powder puff games. This week we've got some powder puff games, but we got some actually good matchups. A couple will be number 1 Alabama versus number 3 Florida State, number 17 Florida versus number 11 Michigan. I think 22 West Virginia is taking on 21 Virginia Tech. There's some interesting games out there. So let's talk college football. Let's make our first real picks on the season. And we'll start with that Alabama versus FSU game. What do you think, Zach?
I like Florida State in this one. I think this is sort of got a national championship fielded so early on the season.
It is a neutral.
It's on a neutral site. I think Florida State, I know Nick Saban's supposedly the best coach if you only got one game to play to bet on him, but something tells me Florida State's to go with Florida State on this one.
Callie, you
I'm going to stick
Alabama?
with I'm going to go with Alabama. I'm sticking with the conference on this one, and I just think I wouldn't mind FSU winning. I think Alabama's got the upper hand and wind out taking care of it.
It's kind of like flipping a coin.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's so hard the very first game of the season because Alabama's good, FSU was good, but we've had some changes. We've had people, of course, graduate and new people having to step in. It's like where UT is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if that's a fair comparison. I think Tennessee's still got a little bit more work to do.
I think Florida State, in my opinion, has got more to win. I think they,
Well, absolutely. And like I told you, if Alabama loses this game, they won't lose another game. They won't lose another game.
Let's talk Florida versus Michigan. Once again, it's a neutral zone. Callie, what do you think? You still sticking with the conference?
Michigan.
Just because you hate Florida.
I cannot and will not. They could play Vanderbilt. I'd still pick Vanderbilt over Florida.
Well, I'm picking Michigan too, but this is more based on the suspensions that Florida has for that.
Oh, yeah. And Callaway being out will definitely, and there's 6 other players that 5 or 6 other players that will be out along.
I think it'll be actually fairly close. I do think Michigan can pull it off. It's that where Michigan was down here in Florida and they were trying to do camps and recruit players and then.
Well, also Michigan lost a lot of players.
There's a whole lot of love lost between anybody in Florida and Michigan.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to go with Michigan as well. Let's step out of the box for a minute, the top 25. Let's talk Vandy at MTSU.
I'm going to say MTSU. I'm going with my old school for this one.
Well, we're not agreeing on this one because I'm going Vandy. I think this is a kind of a must-win
Oh, absolutely.
for Derek Mason and his program down there, especially after the way they ended the season where they beat Tennessee and they got shellacked in the bowl game. So he kind of needs a bounce-back win. So I just like Derek Mason as a coach, and I'm going Vandy on this one. I think he's going to have his team ready to play.
The last 2 seasons, I've gone with MTSU to win, and they haven't. So I'm actually going to go with Vandy just because MTSU's killed me twice. Although I actually am rooting for MTSU to win that game. Let's move down to the West Virginia versus Virginia Tech game. That's also a neutral location.
Oh, I guess I'll start. I'll go with West Virginia on this one. I think their offense is just going to be able to move the ball, and Virginia Tech it was potent last year, and I think it's going to be just as potent this year of an offense. So I think they'll be able to edge out Virginia Tech in a close game.
Yeah, this is a hard one definitely to pick.
Coin flip.
It is a coin flip, but I chose Virginia Tech on this one.
All right. I can't remember where this is being played. I think Virginia Tech has the more storied history, and really at this point in level of their program, they need to start getting it back on track since Beamer left. So I'm actually going to go with Virginia Tech on this one. Zach, I'm going against you. I don't go with Cali very often.
No. I'm really go on principle rather than who's more likely to win.
All right, let's talk UT versus Georgia Tech. This is at a
And I wish you
neutral
would make
location,
yeah, and I
but
wish
it's
you would
in
make us
Atlanta.
pick these.
So
because-
it is a neutral location, but it's in Atlanta, so that's pretty much a home game.
So, Callie, you want to start with
Yeah,
this
why don't
one?
you start with this one, Callie?
Well,
You want me to start?
I don't know because we suspended a tackle for the game coming up, and also Darren Kirkland Jr., one of our not senior, but a veteran, let's call him that, linebackers, is out indefinitely. We also lost offensive lineman in Chance Hall with Trey Smith coming in, but Trey's never played, hadn't taken a collegiate snap yet. So I'm a little worried, to say the least, as coming into this first game. However, I am going to pick UT because I have to, although I do not like to making picks on my team.
You just feel bad about going against your team. Didn't bother him when she was picking against Franklin County.
Well,
no.
yeah, but I've been a Tennessee fan since I was 8 years old.
I think this is your problem. It is basically a home game for Georgia Tech. I think the fans are going to show up.
I think both fans will show
I
up.
think
I
both
don't think
fans will
it's,
show up
yeah.
too, but I think your struggles, not having an established quarterback, you've got some injuries. You lost Josh Smith for several
Oh,
years.
yeah, Josh Smith is out too. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not looking good. And I'm starting to think it's becoming make or break for Butch Jones. Some of y'all
Yeah, this
always
is a
say
make or
not.
break season for him, I
But-
feel like.
I think after last year's kind of, I would say disappointing,
Yeah.
but not living up to expectations. The program is wanting it to live up to expectations. I'm going with Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So let's
Then
talk.
I never gave my pick.
You didn't? I'm sorry. Go ahead, bud.
I'm going with Georgia Tech just because sort of the things you mentioned. Georgia Tech, you know what you're going to get. They're going to run that wishbone offense. And Tennessee just has all these question marks. So I'm going Georgia Tech as well.
Well, I think Tennessee struggled on defense last year due to some injuries and whatnot.
We struggled offensively and defensively because of injuries, but we are healthy. It's just gonna, and then you got these guys, like you said, it's a lot of question marks. We're going to have to just play and see and then after that game, we can see what we've got
All right.
and what we don't got.
We picked 5. Let's pick just one more of these. Which one do you guys want to pick? And then we'll move on to our
Let's
next
do
topic.
LSU, South Carolina, and NC State.
Well,
You up for that one? Or?
South Carolina, sure, I'll go with South Carolina on this one. I think Will Muschamp is in a must-win mode right now, and I think NC State struggled mightily last year on offense. I'm going South Carolina because this is a much-needed win for them.
NC State.
NC State, that was an easy pick. You don't like Will Muschamp.
No, I don't.
It's got the Florida stench.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, just Will Muschamp in general. But yeah, that doesn't hurt.
And I will go with I'm going to go with South Carolina based on a lot of things of what you said, Zach. And I do think that they were starting to get that program turned around. I think that big win versus Tennessee last year, is propelling them in the right direction where they need to be. Other games this week, we won't pick on these, but LSU is neutral versus BYU.
Yeah, the game just got moved to New Orleans thanks to Hurricane Harvey and all its havoc down there.
Yeah.
My prayers to Houston, by the way,
Absolutely.
because I have a lot of family down there. I have my main family, and it's awful to hear
It's
all the
wrecked
devastation.
It's
Yeah.
wrecked complete havoc. And Texas A&M is going to UCLA. I think that would be an interesting game.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're not making picks on that one.
Yeah. I think that one was kind of a toss-up because it's just hard to know. Like I said, it's first game of the season. It's really hard to tell. It's one thing in pro when you know what you have coming back.
Yeah.
But in college, you have to
especially-
have a younger person step up. And, they may be talented, but they're going to make mistakes, especially quarterbacks. With that being said, Titans lose to the Bears 19-7. Now they're back to Jekyll and Hyde Titans. What do you think?
No surprise.
It was a
Bears.
dress rehearsal game is what they were calling it, but as a dress rehearsal game, it didn't look too good.
I mean, this is another thing. You say it's a dress rehearsal. I just roll my eyes. It's preseason football. At this point, I don't care. People aren't going to show their cards.
And part of it's getting out of it uninjured. I mean.
Exactly. At this point, I don't get the preseason at all. So
why do they even run preseason?
It's better to see the second string guys. That's what I use the preseason for, to see how good the second string is and how the reserves are. First string, I don't put a lot of stock in it because obviously the teams aren't showing their hands in these games. So it's more just to see, okay, let's scout X player because he's going to be the backup to Mariota or somebody like that. So I don't know. You see Titans losing 19-7. I see, okay, that's a game.
Well, I say, but Marcus Mariota was in for.
He was
enjoying the game. So
I still don't put any stock in it because this isn't what the teams are going to be running during the regular season. This is, okay, here's very vanilla plays for you guys.
So you got anything you want to add?
No.
No Titans talk today?
No.
All right. Well, we've talked Titans football. I hope they have a good season. I think right now, from what I've seen, our predictions seem pretty good, spot on if they get to that. After Motlow Soccer had a really bad loss in the first scrimmage, which was an official game, I just want to shout out to them. They played 2 games over the past weekend. They tied one, and they lost one. Scored their first collegiate goal.
They did.
Their first goal as a program.
Yeah, did that on Friday night.
And I just want to shout out to those young ladies at the Motlow Soccer Lady Bucks. It's tough to start a new program.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
shout out to them guys. To speak on soccer, CFSC soccer teams here locally. And CFSC, to say that, it's usually kids that come from Tullahoma, Manchester, Shelbyville, Franklin County.
For those who don't know, what is CFFC?
Canton Forest Football Club. And it's soccer. But they had 5 teams in the Stones River Summer Invitational up in Smyrna this past weekend. 4 out of the 5 placed. 2 came in second, 2 came in first. So that was a good job. And one of them was my daughter's team. And taking that medal off her neck was almost impossible. She thinks she's still.
Hey, those are hard won because some of those teams are.
We had 4 games, and we beat it.
Yeah.
We came back to beat a team that beat us.
Yeah.
So it was good to see the little girls' faces all excited to get that taste of victory. Was great.
Absolutely.
Guys, is there anything else you want to add before we cut off? Looks like we're going on about 20 minutes, and I think people are chiming in saying, would y'all stop? We can't read our Facebook posts.
Oh, I just want to give a shout out to the THS soccer team. Ended up getting back-to-back wins this week, specifically, more recently, getting a win against Spring Hill 2-1 last night. Then Cassidy Connor put up 5 goals against Warren County the other night. That's pretty impressive. The second time that Tullahoma's had a girl who had 5 goals in the game. So that's pretty awesome. And then also we give a shout out to the Tullahoma golf team, which ended up winning the Sundrop Invitational yesterday in Manchester. So kudos, guys, and specifically to Jacob Uelheim, who finished first overall in the performers. So kudos to you guys.
Anything you want to reach out to in Franklin County,
No.
sports-wise?
No.
No? Dang, all right. With that being said, I want to remind everybody that our Ultimate Football Contest, our first week's picks, come tomorrow for high school games. Of course, we've got college games all weekend. We don't have pro games in the mix yet, but these games that we talked about high school, a lot of them will be in there to pick. So you can also go on there and pick against us if you want to. Most of these college games will be in there, so you can range how good you do versus us. And as you've been watching for a while, you can't get much worse than Cali.
Or us in general.
Yeah.
It's funny though how we'll only count when y'all win and not me. But okay.
We love you, Cali.
Yeah, I know.
That's all true.
That's it. But play our Ultimate Football game. Come and join us on Facebook Live. We try to do this once a week. If you have any comments, questions, you can always get in touch with Zach
Reach me on Twitter at Zach Birdsong.
or Callie at
NewsGal27.
or you can call us up here at the Tullahoma News, 455-4545. Just ask for any three of us, and we'll happily let it go to voicemail. All right. Thanks, folks. Hope you have a good day.
Thanks.